Welcome to our conversation about procurement topics. Today we're going to be talking about the triple bottom line. Very popular subject, quite a fluffy subject, so I'm going to try and put a bit more context on it by having a conversation. So could you tell us what is the triple bottom line?
Oh yeah, okay, thanks Andy. So to understand the triple bottom line, you have to go right back in history, recent history, to the year 1990. Now the year 1990, obviously being the very first year after the 80s, was the first year as we're coming out of the way from conspicuous consumption. And you had this Canadian accountant called John Elkington who stood up on a large stage and kind of berated corporate business. Now, corporate business, having been through the 80s, was all focused on the bottom line. And bottom line thinking was about making as much profit as you can. And what John Elkington did, he said, the future of business is not going to be focused on this single bottom line. There's going to be a number of things that businesses need to focus on in order to be successful. It's going to be a triple bottom line. As well as profit, you've got to look at the planet and you've got to look at people. And so the triple bottom line became this kind of mantra. There's going to be 3 Ps for future success: people, planet, profit.
I believe actually he also wrote a few papers and books on the subject, and People, Profit, Planet actually comes from, I think, 1994. From one of his tomes on the subject.
There you go.
So I know this is a super important area for CIPS students. I don't think you can go anywhere through the CIPS qualification without seeing the triple bottom line or sustainability or CSR or ESG. But I guess, bring it back to the context of procurement, what do we have to think about when it comes to our supply chain initiatives? How does it affect our role within procurement and supply chain?
Yeah, and I think this is where you put your finger on it right at the beginning when you said it's a fluffy topic. In its own, it's just fluff, it's just words, until we start getting specific. So for a procurement person going through your typical procurement cycle, perhaps the initial starting point is to look at what are your stakeholder needs and how are we defining this in your specification. So the concept of the triple bottom line is it's not just about writing a specification so we can get the most economic, the cheapest possible, or the most money out of a particular situation, but it's also thinking about, does this have an impact on the environment? And what are the resources that are being used? How are they being used? And does this have an effect on people, or what people are involved in the supply chain that delivers this? So writing this into the specification, going through the procurement cycle when it comes to bidding, what evaluation criteria are we putting in place? As well as how much money is something going to cost? What about the environmental impact and the impact upon people and society? How is that being scored? And then when it gets into the actual contract, finally, then do we have KPIs written into the contract that are going to drive performance? Again, you can take the triple bottom line as a framework and say, where are our KPIs in each of those 3 areas?
And has ESG, because that's the new terminology we keep seeing in the CIPS textbook, in the CIPS qualification, the updated syllabus, has this taken over from the triple bottom line, or is it a subset, or does it include triple bottom line?
Yeah, it's very easy for some people to think this is something totally separate, or that we've kind of ripped up the old textbook and got rid of the triple bottom line. So the concept of ESG, so that's environmental, social and governance principles, is, if you like, it's a follow-on. It's a further development of the triple bottom line thinking. And it's all about putting this into a company's governance to have commitments in this area. So I would say it's a further development rather than superseding the triple bottom line.
So thank you so much for clearing away all of the fluff and making it a bit clearer for us to understand. I know, as I said before, incredibly popular on the CIPS syllabus. So if you can find out about the triple bottom line look up the topics of ESG, social value, try and do a bit of wider reading. I'm sure it will stand you in really good stead. Thank you for watching.